Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week I decided to do something a little different and I filmed what I made for dinner every week. No, every night this week. I have had not a lot of inspiration for dinner these days. Actually, truth be told, I never have inspiration for dinner because I don't love cooking. So everything that I made this week was just quick and easy, but turned out delicious. Everybody ate it and liked it, so I thought that I would compile it into a video so that if you were looking for some inspiration for what to make for dinner, maybe this would help. So yeah, here it goes. Alright, so this first meal that I'm making is fried rice. It's just a quick, easy weeknight meal. The kids love it, reheated the next day in their lunches in their thermoses, so yep, whenever I have some leftover rice, I like to try to make fried rice because nobody complains and everybody eats it. So first I'm just peeling and chopping some carrots. I had these little carrots that I got in my produce box and they're just like the tiny ones that still have the green tops on them, but for whatever reason they always go soft in my fridge super quick, so it was produce day, so I figured I would use those up in my fried rice. I'm also putting in some bell pepper. My daughters don't like bell pepper, but my son does. So I find that if I chop it up really small and then cook it really soft, they're not as adverse to it. So I'll take what I can get. They haven't actually tolerated bell peppers at all until like the last month, and I've been sneaking them into all kinds of things and they haven't really complained. So I'm just gonna keep going with it because I really got tired of not being able to cook with bell peppers. It's really limiting when basically the only vegetable they like is carrots. Next, I'm putting in some oil into a hot pan and sauteing up some onions. I had these already chopped up in my fridge because I try to have veggies already prepped in the fridge just so that they're quick and easy on a weeknight because honestly, I don't love cooking, guys. So I just grated in some ginger using my microplane and throwing in the carrots so I don't have crunchy carrots in my rice because who wants crunchy carrots in their fried rice? No, thank you. Putting in some more ginger because, hello, I love ginger. Now I'm just adding some water and covering that with some foil to soften up those carrots. And now I'm just going to throw in the bell peppers and soften those up a bit. Add some salt and pepper and some garlic. I didn't have fresh garlic, so we used powdered. Honestly, there's no rules in the kitchen when I'm cooking. Now I'm just making a spot to put in the eggs. I'm gonna scramble those up with my veggies. And adding some soy sauce so that it'll get in there with the veggies and cook with it. And now I'm adding rice. This is rice that was in the fridge, so it's cold. I prefer using day-old rice with my fried rice because I just find that it keeps its shape better instead of turning into one big gelatinous goo. And then I just added in some, what is that called? Sesame oil. I try to do it at the end because then you get the flavor. Otherwise, it just kind of seems to die, but not too much because it is a very strong flavor and nobody wants too much sesame oil. And I threw in some peas. I actually thawed them in the sink for a few minutes just because I didn't want it to cool off my rice and I was trying to get this on the table quickly. And there we have it, fried rice. Next, I am making chicken and dumplings, and again, just peeling and chopping some carrots. The recipe actually called for carrots, celery, and onions. I didn't have celery, so I was just using whatever I had in my fridge. Now I'm chopping up some bell pepper. I don't think I would do this again in future because I found that the bell pepper flavor really overpowered everything else. And as my girls don't like bell pepper, that meant they didn't like the broth that the chicken and dumplings were in. They did end up eating it, but it wasn't without complaint, and there's nothing I hate more than spending time in the kitchen and having everybody complain about it. Also added some tomatoes because I needed to use these up, and frankly they were just going to disintegrate and disappear into the broth anyways, so that was fine. Nobody even noticed the tomatoes, but that's probably because they were so disgusted by the bell peppers. Now I'm just chopping up my chicken. It is partially frozen, so it's easier to work with that, and I just didn't have time to thaw it all the way, and it'll thaw as it cooks because really it's going to get boiled in a broth, so it'll be fine. And half frozen chicken is way easier anyways. Just chopping it up really small because I don't like large chunks of chicken in my soup, and really, I'm the one cooking, so I make it how I like it. Now I'm just sauteing that chicken up in some melted butter, adding some salt, pepper, and garlic. There's the garlic. And throwing in the onions. Again, they were already prepped in my fridge. And in go the carrots. I did them first because I didn't want to have crunchy carrots in my chicken and dumplings, and then I realized that it's gonna get boiled in a broth, so I just threw everything in because it will all just get soft. Now I'm throwing in some flour. The recipe called for 2 tablespoons of flour, but I had way more chicken and veggies than the recipe called for, so I just sprinkled in a little more. Recipes are really just more like guidelines anyways, right? Now I'm throwing in some water. The recipe called for broth, but again, I didn't have chicken broth, so I did have the chicken bouillon paste that you can get at Costco, so I threw that in. But, you know, if you're making this, use whatever you have. Adding more water, because again, not following a recipe. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Now I'm making the dumplings, so that was 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a teaspoon of salt. And I believe it was 3/4 of a cup of milk. Oh no, first I'm putting in half a cup of butter. And I'm going to crumble that with my pastry blender until it resembles like coarse crumbs. Now we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of milk. And I'm just mixing that all around. Somewhere in here I got sick and tired of using the fork, and I know you're not supposed to mix biscuits with your hands, but I mean, let's be real, it's going into a broth. Although if you wanted to make this even easier, you could use pre-made biscuit dough. That would be just fine as well. Just break it up into pieces or chop it into pieces or whatever and toss it in your broth, and it'll be just fine, guys. I didn't have any, but you better believe if I did, I would have done that. There's just something about having to cook every night for the rest of your life that takes the love out of cooking. You people who love cooking, my hat's off to you, because I don't get it. I used to love cooking, and then I got married and had kids, and it died. Now I'm just going to turn this down to just above a simmer, put a lid on it, and let it cook for 10 minutes. And there it is, all done. Those dumplings have plumped up, and it is absolutely delicious. It's an awesome fall supper, although maybe leave out the bell peppers. The next meal is so quick and so easy, I didn't even have to speed up the video. So first I'm just adding a pound of elbow macaroni to my Instant Pot insert. And I'm trying to cook and film with one hand, so yeah. It's not the best camera work, but you get the general idea. So now I'm just showing you it's a little over 1 pound, but it's a pretty forgiving recipe, so I'm not too concerned about it. Really, that's what, 5 extra elbow macaronis? Now I'm just going to add 4 cups of water. At this point you could also add in some spices if you wanted, like sometimes I throw in taco seasoning or, you know, whatever I feel like. throw in some frozen veggies, maybe some garlic sausage. Now I'm setting my Instant Pot on high pressure for 3 minutes and make sure that that is on sealing, not venting. Once I do a quick release on the pressure, my noodles are cooked. If you have any extra water, now's the time to drain it. My noodles had soaked up all the water, so it was fine. And now you're just going to add 8 ounces or 1 cup of milk. I've used canned milk, I've used whole milk, I've used half and half, I've used cream, I've used pretty much any milk will work. Now I'm going to add 2 large handfuls of cheese. I used sharp cheddar and mozzarella, but whatever cheese you like. I mean, you know, the sky's the limit. I've done Parmesan, I've done pepper jack. Just use whatever you have. I don't recommend using the pre-shredded stuff that you can get from the grocery store. I find it makes it a little bit grainy. I've heard that they coat those with cornstarch to keep them from sticking together. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just don't like the texture when I use the pre-shredded cheese. I shred my cheese from a block and then stick it in the freezer, so I always have shredded cheese on hand. But hey, whatever you want. You could also throw in some chili and make chili mac, or throw in some spaghetti sauce, or hot dogs. Like, I have done so many things with this. Now I'm just throwing in some garlic and some seasoning salt, and that is it. If you let it set for about 5 minutes after you're done this with the heat off, it gets really gooey and like stringy, and yeah, it's amazing. You could also put this in a casserole dish and bake it in the oven with some breadcrumbs on top if you wanted to, but honestly, why? Like, it's amazing all by itself, but you know, you do whatever you want to do with this. It is honestly probably 20 minutes from start to finish. It is so easy that in the morning when I'm getting my kids ready for school, I will cook this while they're eating their breakfast and put it in a thermos for them to take to school for lunch. It is the perfect weeknight supper. And there you have it. I just topped it with some paprika, and there's never any leftovers when I make this mac and cheese. I haven't even bought the boxed Kraft Dinner mac and cheese since I got my Instant Pot, and I've had it for 3 years this year. Finally, this last one, I have sheet pan pizza. It's kind of like a thin crust. It's not like the typical yeast dough, so I doubled the recipe, so I'm using 4 eggs and 1 1/3 cups milk. Mixing that all together. Now I'm adding 2 cups of flour and a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. It said shredded Parmesan cheese, but I have used this one every time I've made it, and it's been totally fine. I'm sure it'd be great with shredded, but I just don't have it on hand. I also threw in some garlic and Italian seasoning. Now I'm going to spread it out really thin on a pan, and then I'm going to pop that in the oven. If you do try this recipe and you do use shredded Parmesan, let me know down in the comments what you think of it. I'd love to know, but I just haven't gotten around to trying it yet. And so now I'm just popping that in the oven for about 20 minutes. You know, make sure and check it though. It bakes pretty quick, and I have it on convection, so I never really actually go by the 20 minutes. I'm constantly checking, and I didn't even fully preheat my oven. It is supposed to be on 425 though. Now I'm just making the sauce for my pizza. I have tomato paste on hand, so that's what I'm using. I'm just going to water it down with some water to make it the texture that I like. Quick tip, if you can't get the tomato paste out of your can, just open the other end and push it through. Such a neat trick. I love that. I don't remember where I learned that, but it was probably YouTube. Anyways, there's me just adding the water, mixing it all up, checking the texture, adding a little bit more. Now it's pretty much like a tomato sauce. Now I'm adding some Italian seasoning and some garlic and a little bit of Parmesan cheese and some salt and pepper. Mixing that all up. Now I'm just going to spread that out evenly over the crust. The crust, you basically know it's done when it's completely cooked, you know, all the way across the pan and the edges are starting to turn golden. Now I'm just going to top it with some shredded cheese. I also like to top this with pepperoni or pineapple or whatever I have on hand, but I didn't have any of those things, and honestly, the only thing I had was veggies, and I didn't want to listen to the complaining about veggies on pizza, so I just went with cheese because that's what the girls like, and so that's what we did. But, you know, put all your favorite pizza toppings. If you are going to put veggies on, though, I recommend sauteing them first just to soften them up, because it only goes back in the oven for about 10 minutes and then you're done. So that is pretty much what I had this week. I paired them with salads or cut up fruits and veggies, just quick things to get me through the week. And there it is, beautiful, bubbly, thin crust cheese pizza. So I hope that helped. I hope you found it inspirational. Leave a comment down in the comment box below if you did, or if you have any great weeknight dinners that are quick and easy and kid-friendly. I don't necessarily cook for kids, but I have kids who eat it, so yeah, I've tried to, excuse that noise, that's my husband in the kitchen cooking. But yeah, if you have any easy weeknight meals that you have as just your standbys, I would love to hear them. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe and stick around for more. So I will see you again soon. Bye.